Hello there. This is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Insecure review, low key distant, with special guest Miss Mocha Angel.
Hi,
How you
y'all.
doing?
I'm doing great.
Hey. Oh, okay. Well, let's jump into it. What were your overall thoughts of this episode?
I thought it did a good job of slowly showing how Issa and Molly's relationship is breaking down because their communication is not there anymore. Molly's jealousy, and I, as a woman, I actually agree with Lawrence with what he did.
Oh, okay. Well,
I do.
let's jump into it because first we see Andrew and Molly on that date, all
Hmm.
right? And then, of course, he gets a call while he's on the date, and Molly feeling left out, and Andrew didn't really tell her what's going on, and then he back at his place, and Asian Bay doing his thing.
Hmm.
He getting that cake. So that's interesting, but it kind of starts off the theme of what's going on with Molly in there. It's he is kind of keeping distant. It's interesting what the title is because he's not really telling her about himself. So
Right.
what did you see in all of that?
I agree. He just didn't want to open up.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing. Now it was set 3 months before the block party. And that's interesting because they showed Issa and Condola checking out like where they're going to have the party at, and then Condola had mentioned going out of town, and of course Issa knows she's going out of town with Lawrence, and then they started talking about a habit Lawrence had of putting mayonnaise on his fries, and so I was like, oh, okay, because
Hmm.
it's a weird situation, yeah, they getting cool, but that's Issa's ex-man, and you can kind of tell she still got some feelings for Lawrence.
Right. Absolutely. And I thought it was a great scene. And by the way, I laughed because I like mayonnaise with my French fries. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's not just me. But anyway, but anyway, yeah. And I thought they did what women do. I mean, it was innocent. They were just trying to break the ice, talk about the elephant in the room. And that's what they
Mhm.
did. And I'm glad they did. And now they're like, okay, we cool. Moving on.
Oh yeah, and that's interesting with their relationship because that is a relationship dynamic. Because we gonna be looking at that because that's the thing I like about Insecure. But it's like, oh, okay, how we gonna deal with this? But then that's coming later on because think about something because they were having lunch together. Lawrence and Condola were having lunch together, and Condola kind of mentions like, oh yeah, they were talking about him, and Lawrence was kind of like ha ha then, but then he's with his boys Derek and Chad, and that was interesting because they were kind of telling him how to handle it. Chad. Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
that's your boy, ain't
That's my boy. That whole scene was hysterical.
it? Yeah, so it's just like that how they deal with it because Derek was like, hey, he'd have just moved or something. He would have been there, you know. And
Mm,
then it's interesting because Lawrence is like, I had to do something about it. So he meets with Issa in front of her place,
right.
and he kind of lets her know in a ha ha way, like, don't bring up his name.
Correct.
Yeah, so
But
what
he
you think
wasn't
of
mean about it. He wasn't mean. And that's what one of his boys said, like, if you say something to her, you just gonna come off as mean. But no, I didn't think he was mean at all. And his point was, I just want Condola to get to know me, not through you, which was a
hmm
fair point. That's why I said I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you still saw like Issa's interest in Lawrence because she kind of like reached out to him, called him, and I forgot what that was exactly. But then she wanted to talk more, and Lawrence is like, "Nah, I don't want to talk."
right. So yeah, that was later when she was about to meet Condola at the concert, and so she
hmm
called them to say, okay, just so I get. Well, I'm speaking, I'm paraphrasing, but without cursing. So she said, I just don't want to mess this up again. What do you want me to tell Condola about our little meeting? And he said, no, because it's not that deep. And then she was like, hey, how you doing? What you doing? He was like, okay, bye.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing, and it'd be interesting to see how they played that out. But it's still that dynamic because of Issa. She's really getting into Condola. I mean, friends and everything. And then there was that scene, and let's go back with Molly.
Okay.
Well, even earlier than that, right? Even earlier than that, like when they were at Tiffany's house, it was Halloween, and Kelly doing her Kelly thing, and all of that, and they were talking about. It was interesting because they hadn't really seen each other
right
in that month, so I'm like, And then Molly's complaining because a lot of the episodes really about underlying Molly and Andrew. She's not really getting to know him,
right.
And that was an interesting thing. And then what was that scene? Oh yeah, they had a sex scene with
Molly and Andrew.
Oh no, that was at the beginning. For a corporate guy, he got some thug tattoos, but we won't go there.
Right.
It was like okay, tongs, yakuza. It's like I know you're Korean, but still. But no, but remember that scene that Connor and Issa had. Connor, TSA babe, they were having sex, and a condom got caught up in her.
Yes.
And I think she was just like around the end, she was like, oh, no, I had to get rid of him. It's like, because he already had 2 kids.
Right. But see, I think what that also showed was she wasn't being honest with Molly, just like Molly wasn't being honest with her when she got the call from Andrew apologizing. Okay, that's what it was. She didn't tell her the truth.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the fall down, and it was interesting when Molly met Issa for lunch, but Condola was there, and it was almost like Molly was like the third wheel.
Yes, she was competing with Condola, and that's not cool.
Yeah, but it's interesting because see, that's the thing that we're seeing. Okay, first they hadn't really talked for a month. What, really seen each other, and then it's like, okay, she goes there for the lunch, and then they're doing the third wheel thing, and I'm just like, okay, it's like it's falling apart. And then we see a little bit of more Molly at work, because it's like even at work, it's kind of like she's out of it, she's out of it, and even when they were at home. Like when earlier when she had invited Andrew over, and it seemed like he just wanted the nanny right then.
Right.
And she's cooking and she wants to get to know him and everything. And it's kind of a different, I don't know, it's almost like Molly is getting to the point like her 2 lives she's not getting that closeness that she wants. Like even on her job with her coworker, the coworker is just kind of just like whatever. He's totally business with her. So I mean, what were you seeing? I mean, as far as how Molly was behaving and everything, what were you seeing?
So I know I was on her case last week, but this week you could just see she was trying to be vulnerable. She was trying to, with Andrew, she was trying to be vulnerable, talk about her past, her family, and he didn't want to. And then he said, you always find a problem with stuff. And then I felt bad because that's what Issa said later. She was like, you always find a problem with stuff. And she was like, no, I'm just trying to connect with somebody that I like. And then when he called to apologize, she saw that, okay, no, I'm not crazy. This isn't my fault. I'm not trying to find a problem. I'm trying to connect, which is the same thing she's doing at work. So at work, she's trying not to get anybody mad because like you said, from last season, she doesn't really get along with her coworkers. And so this time she was like, okay, I'll try the opposite approach. I won't say anything. And then that didn't work. And dude was like, just say what you got to say. She's like, well, damn, I can't win for losing. So that's what I saw.
Well, and you know what? And, as I always would say, the interesting thing about Insecure, and even why I even bother reviewing it, it shows real life relationship dynamics. Like Molly represents that, what we'll call that 92 climber, that corporate woman, 92 octane climber. Shout out Master Teacher BGS for bringing that up. But she's a climber because she's from around the way, but she's climbing, but it's almost like she's not like who she really is. It's like she's putting on mask and she's trying to be like vulnerable, but then it's like, okay, you got this guy, but it seemed like he just went to 90 because like, he had mentioned something about that, like talking to his sister or something, and he didn't want to share all that. And she was just like, what? And then and then of course the thing at work, I mean, she in the middle of a attorney meeting, and those are always important. And hopefully nobody asks me how I know. And then you'll be like, she talking about something else. It's like, hold up, that's not the place for it.
Right.
That's not the place. And it's just like, and the interesting thing about Molly, and I'm starting to see that with this season, is like, it's really a culmination of what we've seen of Molly from the first 3 seasons. It's like she's, she got this job and everything and all this, but it's like she's coasting. And it's interesting with Issa. If you look at Issa's actually getting better.
Right.
Particularly with her association with Condola. So it's like, and then you could probably see, like, okay, we're seeing more and more how this tension is coming about because, they hiking, but then there's tension there.
Yeah, they can't talk anymore. They don't feel like they can trust each other. And so, just watching that slow deterioration, I think that's something everybody can relate to. So yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, okay. It's an interesting dynamic. One thing about Andrew though, let me get back to him real quick. Because when they first showed him, he seemed like, it was kind of shady. It's like, what does he do for a living? And, you saw the party side, but then now you see him in an office and everything. You're like, oh, wait a minute, this dude got a lot more going on.
Yeah, definitely. They're giving him some depth, for sure.
Yeah, but even though they still not really showing him, but then it's like, okay, he's in his corporate thing, but then he got the Yakuza tattoos on his, well, not quite, but halfway on his back. So I'm like, And I think that's an interesting dynamic too, because a lot of women do go through that. They meet that guy and, he's sexy to them and everything, but then he's holding back. They can't really get into him. I've heard that. I've heard many women say that about certain guys. Yeah, he's sexy and sex is good. And they want to be vulnerable to him. Because if you think about last season, when she kind of first met him, she was telling him everything. Right. The dude's just like, So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. But overall, though, and I like the title Low-Key Distant, and there was a lot of distance in there, and it seemed like the distance was Molly from her best friend, that's slowly growing, and then distance from Andrew, who she trying to get to know because dude isn't letting her in, and then even distance from her coworkers because that coworker, that attorney, he's just like totally professional with her. He's like. Because I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if they're gonna try to like start something. And then he just left the office, didn't even close the door. I was like, oh no, he's gonna be the same way towards her.
Oh no, he's all business. And also the other distance part I saw was Issa saying I have to step back from TSA Bay. After what happened with the condom, she's like, nah, I can't do this no more. That was messy. Now that was messy.
Yeah, because it seemed like, that's an interesting thing too, because, I always talk about the select, non-select thing, and, dude wasn't like maybe her top choice, but then just because she wanted that maintenance, that's something to do sex, he might have got her pregnant.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. That all of that. And you know what? How would you give the episode? What would you overall rate the episode?
Overall, I give it an 8 out of 10. I was happy to see Chad. Thank God. He was hilarious.
I know that's your boy, ain't it?
That's my boy. And Kelly, she hood, but she's always comic relief. So it's nice to see that. And Issa was funny. I thought overall it was a good episode. It kept moving the story forward. And that's what we want to see.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, man. It's like, okay, you're starting to see the subtle stuff. You're starting to see, going back to the flash forward from the first episode, okay, Lisa's not dealing with Molly anymore. Now you see it gradually how it happens. And it's almost like whenever Issa says something or points out something, boom, that's playing into it. And then the thing with Condola.
Absolutely. And to me, it's always a good episode if I really want to see the next one. And when I saw the previews for next week, I was like, now see, that's going to be good because you get to see Condola and Lawrence around Condola's friends and how that's going to go. And then Molly's family talking about Andrew, like, is he crazy? Is he rich? I thought that was hilarious.
Okay.
And just how he's probably not there, but just how they talk about him to her. And I was like, that's going to be an interesting episode. So.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to that because it's interesting. You saw the same thing when I saw it, and now they're around Condola's folks. Now, if you think about Lawrence when we first saw him, dude, just sitting on the couch, not doing his thing, but now he's slowly getting back into the world that he probably came from.
Correct, because Lawrence 5 years ago could not have hung with Condola. They wouldn't even have made it to a first date. There's no way.
Yeah, and now we're going to see him around the people he probably actually grew up around because we still finding out more. He was an athlete in college. I mean, he ran track briefly, but still, it's like, oh, okay. And I kind of like how they doing that. They showing like just little things. So anyway, that was a good episode. You have any final thoughts?
Oh, just last thing, we found out that Lawrence's first name is Martin, and he's Martin Lawrence. Martin. So yeah. So I thought that was cute. So.
Oh yeah, loved it. All right then. As always, great to have you. Next week. Oh, that's gonna be an interesting episode.
Yes.
So anyway, y'all, tune in next week for yet another review of Insecure from the crew of the Field Master Rom Wills and the beautiful Miss Mocha Angel. So y'all have peace and blessings always.
Bye, y'all.